Hello, and welcome. Welcome to Unreal Engine 5 VR course that's aimed for architects. This is an intermediate level course in which I'll try to cover 3 things that will be showcased right now. So as you saw, after we're done with this video, we'll have sun position control as well as possibilities to switch materials for different objects at runtime, which is very cool. And before we jump into the actual video, there is an important thing that I would like to note. If you're new to VR development in Unreal Engine, please watch the beginner course first. Link in the video description below. I will be using the scene created in that course to as a kickoff point for this course. And by the way, that's what you actually see now on the screen, right? If you want to follow along with exactly the same project, the same scene, please consider becoming a Patreon member, as they get all of the files that are done on this channel for free. Also, link in the video description below, and probably pinned comment as well. With this being said, you don't really need the project files to be able to follow along, as the information that is given is going to be quite general, and you'll be able to apply it to any project whatsoever. Okay, so let me quickly show you the functionality that we've already built up in the introduction course, so that we're all on the same page. So here we have a door, and we can interact with the door by just kind of shooting at it. So we can open and close it, and you can see as I'm shooting, there's a little paw that's added. So that's a functionality. So interactive objects, right? Door swing. And also another functionality, like interactive functionality that was added, or maybe not so interactive but dynamic, is the sunlight, right? So that you can see that the sun actually goes around and it changes its altitude as well. It's animated, it's non-dynamic, so we will need to fix it. Some things we will keep from the previous project, such as the interaction interface between door and our character, and others we will completely scrap, such as the sun the sun animation, and we will replace it with a brand new one. So ours will be controlled through the menu right here. I mean hours, by hours I mean the sun, right? So with that being said, I think that's enough of an intro for us. We can right now jump into it. Okay, so here we are in the Unreal Engine project, and the thing that we are going to do first is going to be the dynamic material selection, of course, or not selection, but shuffling through a set of materials dynamically at runtime. So for that, we will need to create a blueprint, and we will need to use the same interaction workflow or framework that we have already set up in the beginner course, right? So just quickly to remind you how it works is basically we have our VR template right here, blueprints, we have our VR pawn, right? That's our character basically. And we have created these two sets of nodes for the left arm. So we have our input action that we have created, and once it's started, that's for the right trigger. Once the input action is started, it's going to create a line trace. So basically it's going to shoot out a ray from the hand, right? And it's going to check what kind of object is does that ray intersect with, right? And if the object that is being intersected has this interact blueprint, if it calls for this interact blueprint, then it's going to trigger, right? So then if we look at our object that actually has this interact blueprint, for instance, our door that we have created, there we go. Let's look at its event graph. Right? We shoot at the door, the ray is traced, it hits the door, this one triggers, right? This one triggers, so it starts the door open, or rather it starts the timeline for door opening. And the way the door opens, it's basically by rotating from 0 to 90 degrees. If you shoot it again, it reverses back, right? So it goes backwards. You can see it from here. If door is open, then reverse. If door is closed, then play, then open, right? So that's how it works. And we're basically going to be using the same exact interface framework for interaction between our controller or our character and the materials of any object. So in this case, I kind of want to work with the floor, right? I think that might be quite nice. So with the floor selected here in the scene, I will create a new blueprint here. So we can just do it from scratch. Let's do it cleanly. Right click anywhere on this folder. So under contents, I have created blueprints folder. That's where all of my blueprints will live. And here I'll just right click and choose blueprint class. Then I choose actor because it's not going to move, it's not going to have artificial intelligence, anything like that. It's going to be actor, right? Like that. And I'll just call it floor. That's my floor. Okay. Now if I double click it, you know, it opens up this actor, and currently it's empty, right? It has nothing inside of it. So we need to actually add the floor inside of our floor actor. How do you do that? Well, first of all, let's make this tab a little bit smaller, and then let's just dock it in somewhere here, maybe. Go back to our VR template map. There we go. Oh, maybe here. And basically we need, as we have selected the floor here, right? In our outliner, the floor brep has been also selected, and that is our static mesh actor, right? So I need to find where is it in our content browser. To do so, all I need to do is just, move my camera away. Nope, that's not how you do it. There we go. Like that. And so to do so, I just click on this little icon right here, browse to brep in content browser. Bam. It finds it for me. That's my floor. And I just simply drag and drop it into my default scene or to my component, whatever it's called, components tab right here in the actor. So now my actor actually has the floor. It does not have a material though, so let's apply a material to it. So now under my floor actor, select the brep. Here we have the materials for it, and I believe I can just do it this way. No, I can't. Okay, so I do need to also choose to browse to the material in my content browser, like that. Having two screens is much better when you're using Unreal Engine. And I just drag and drop in my chevron material here. So that's my floor now, all neat and dandy, all ready to go. Now, let me just compile this and save this. And actually, let's not close it because there's one more thing that we need to do, right? That is the positioning. We need to figure out where the position of our floor is compared to the scene, right? In the scene. So it's going to be, technically you could kind of drag it in and try to match it, but it's much better and much more precise if we simply just look at the location values. I shouldn't have done that. Let's go back. Look at the location values of the floor here, right? And you just copy this one, copy X and paste it here. Copy Y and paste it here, right? So now the location, the relative location values are the same, right? So meaning that if you place this asset or this actor, let's go back to it. If you place this actor in the scene and make sure that it's placed under the base model actor, this because the base model also has translation information here. So let me explain it this way. Our scene is datasmith, a datasmith file, right? So this is like the main origin of the scene, and you can see that it's moved in X direction by 990 centimeters, right? And then everything inside of the main scene has its own, offset from the origin of the scene, right? So we need to take our floor here and move it into the base model or whatever it's called. In my case, it's called base model. In your case, whatever your datasmith file was called, that's going to be the name here. So you just drag and drop it in like that. Floor, I believe. Or maybe you don't. Maybe, no, I'm being stupid. I'm sorry. You first drag and drop it in anywhere in the scene, and then once you have it here, then you actually drop it into the base model like so. Well, scroll. It's gonna be a lot of scrolling. 1 second. Let's make it smaller. Boom, boom. There we go. And then you just drag and drop it in. It's a little bit annoying, I know, but hey, it is what it is. Okay, so once you've dragged it into base model, you have it here, floor, right? Then you can delete the old floor that you had. And let's find it. This one right here, we just select it, delete, yes. But now we have a problem. Why the hell is this floor not here, right? Because our there we go. The location values, they are the ones that we copied and pasted, and we added this floor to the base model or to the main actor of our datasmith scene. So why is it just floating about? And that is because it's actually the location right here is not zeroed out. So what you need to do is you need to select this actor after you've added it to the base model or to your main datasmith actor. and you just click on this reset property position. So it zeroes out, and now with its position being 0 and it being offsetted here actually inside of the actor, now it's placed correctly. It's a little bit annoying and a little bit awkward with all of the offsets and all of the measurements, but trust me, once you do it like 2 times, you will figure it out, you will understand it, and you won't need to think about it ever again. Okay, so it seems like a lot of work for nothing because we just have this floor here. So we replaced our static mesh with an actor, but that's actually a big deal because now in this actor we can create an event, right? So go to your floor 2, edit floor, go into your actor here. Let's delete all of the event begin play, blah, blah, blah. We don't need that. And let's create a new, oh wait, sorry. Before we create it, we need to go to class defaults, or was it class settings? Sorry, it was class settings. And we need to actually say that this object, this floor, also calls for the interact interface. So it can be interacted with, right? So we already have the interact interface done. That was done during the beginner course. If you don't know what I'm talking about, what are you doing here? Go to the beginner course, check it out, come back. Everything will be clear then. Anyway, so under interfaces, implemented interfaces, we need to add one. And here we have interact blueprint. That's the one that we've done. That's the one that we're using. That's done. We compile, save, and now we can see that this interface channel, or not channel, object here is active, right? So what we can do is we can create an event. Interact, add event interact. There we go. This one, bam. And basically from now on, if you shoot that little paw at the floor, if you shoot a ray at the floor, this is going to trigger and it's going to do something. So what does it do? Well, just give me a second, I'll show you. All right, I prepared my headset here because we'll need to test this out once we're done, but the logic is pretty damn simple. All we need to do technically is just one node, and that node is called set material. Set material, we already have here brep 513, that's our floor brep, or our floor static object. We set it up like that. We shoot at the ground, event triggers, connects to set material, and for this static object or static mesh, right, we change its material, right? So in event graph, under material, here we can choose whichever we want. Let me minimize this tab real quick and just drag in the brass into my material slot. Just like that. That's the fastest way. You can also search for it, but I prefer just drag and dropping it. Okay, with this done, that should be, yeah, we should be good to go. Actually, one thing that I want to do before we start testing things out is I want to remove the animated sun, because that just kills the performance, and with me recording this video, the performance is necessary. I need it. So I'll go to our level blueprint right here. And here I will just simply, under event tick, this whole thing where we set actor location for our directional light, I'm just going to kill it, delete. And for event begin play, when we set our directional light sun rotation start, like a variable, I will remove that. And just have this for now, event begin play, execute console command scalability 3 or scalability 2. Right? This will just make sure that every time when we package this game and we play it, it runs at high settings rather than epic settings in terms of the performance of quality of the scene. Not many game graphics cards can handle the epic settings for VR. Anyway, back to here. Oh, this is lagging like crazy now. I probably need to restart. Okay, there we go. So now it is done. It seems like we're back at our 90 frames per second on the viewport. That seems good enough. And we can try out to see if the ground actually changes with the this little blueprint that we've made. So let's press the play button. Alright, so it seems like that does indeed work. We press a button, it shoots off a ray, it changes the material. So now how do you switch through multiple materials? Well, there's only one more node that you need to add, and it's called multi-gate. Multi-gate, right here. So every time you trigger this gate, it's going to spit out the first time you trigger it, it's spitting out output number 0. Second time you trigger it, so second time we shoot, and second time this is getting triggered, it spits out Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V, output number 1, and one more, add pin. Third time we trigger, it spits out the output number 2. There we go. All three for the same VREP. You can even do it this way, just use one node to connect all of it together. I personally prefer to use separate nodes because that is just a little bit cleaner, a little bit nicer. Okay, so with this done, I want it to be neat and tidy. So with this done, now we can choose the materials that we actually want to jump between. And oh yeah, and one more thing. If you don't have a loop enabled here, this boolean, if this is disabled, then it's always going to just go through 0, 1, 2, and it's going to stop. It's not going to kind of go back to 0 the fourth time you hit the floor. So I will tick mark here. Loop is tick marked. So now in terms of the materials, okay, let's say the first time we hit it, we switch it to concrete, broken concrete floor instead of brass. Why not? Second time we hit it, we switch to do we do leather? No, let's not do leather. Stone? Slate? No. Travertine? Oh, we can do marble. Let's do marble. So we do marble, and third time we hit it, we do... let's do the same oak, not oak, chevron, walnut, parquet as what we have originally on our floor, so that we still have the option to go back, right? So we have 3 different materials. We just compile, we save, and that is our floor kinda done. Time to test it out, I guess. Let me close that. Let's see if this is going to work. Seems to work. Seems to work quite well, actually. Okay, awesome. So that means we're good to go. This is working, and we are able to switch between different materials. Now on to the next step. And off camera, I will do a few more furniture pieces and so on. I will switch material, make them into switchable actors, but basically you know now how to how to do it. If you want an actor with multiple different elements, you can do so as well. It's just that for every single element, you will need to specify the XYZ transform, you know, inside of the actor. So you basically would be reassembling this shelf as a single actor instance. I might do that off camera. But besides that, we are done with the materials. We can move on to creating the sun, or to controlling the sun, I guess. So we're done. We're done with 1, 2, 3, 4, with 4 of our blueprints that can change materials. So just for me to show you how it all looks like, let me start the simulation, jump right into it, grab, that's the wrong arm, there we go. Where's the next one? There we go. And just if I were to click there you can see the floor changes. And now, not just the floor, the chair, pow, pow, the niche underneath this wooden shelf, if I don't miss it, and as well as the walls themselves, right? So let me just position myself somewhere where we can see all 3 of these. Let's just go to town, boom. Maybe wooden walls, concrete, or travertine floor, then metal there, and white on black chair. Yeah, horrible. But at least the functionality, you know, at least the functionality works, and that's all that matters. You can extrapolate from here on what you can do with this and how many kind of different material sets you can choose from, or you can assemble just with these 4 different blueprints. Okay, now we can move on to, let me remove, or actually before I remove it, now we can move on to the sunlight. Right? And controlling the sunlight within our headset while we are, so to say, playing the game. So let me show you again. Let me jump in right here. Just grab the controller. So the system that we're going to be using is the menu system that's already available. Let me show you. Oh, like that. That's already available inside of Unreal Engine, right? Or inside of this template. So this system is right now we can restart, we can close out the game, and we can reset our location back to where it was. But we will be adding sliders that control the horizontal placement as well as the vertical placement of our sunlight, right? At least that's the plan. Oh, by the way, the system is accessible by pressing the menu key on the controller. If you don't use Oculus Quest 2, then probably there's a different key, but there is a key that already gives you the menu. Anyhow, to start controlling the sun, first of all, we need the sun to be a blueprint rather than a directional light. Because right now, if I go to my environment light mixer, you can see that, you know, we have a directional light, and that works as a sun for us. It's also located right here under lights, directional light. So instead of this one, we need a blueprint. I'll go to my content browser, I'll go to my blueprints tab, and here I will create a new actor. Am I? Okay, blueprint class, there we go, actor. And I'll just call it Sun BP, Sun Blueprint, Sun BP. Okay, I'll double click on it to open it up. And here in this blueprint, I will create a directional light. So I will click on Add Component, and I'll find directional, or you can just search directional light. There we go. We just add it in. Once I've added in, it says multiple directional lights are competing to be the single one used for forward shading, translucent, blah, blah, water, and volumetric fog. Basically, it's saying, you're trying to create two suns, could you not? And yes, we could not. So what we're going to be doing is we'll be deleting our original sun and replacing it with this blueprint that has a directional light in it, right? Before we do that, we need to gather the information and kind of transfer the information into this, into the directional light within the blueprint. So for instance, our current sunlight has a specific angle, right? So we want to copy that and paste it into this. So here in the sun blueprint, we select the directional light, and for it, we paste the X rotation, copy Y rotation, and copy Z rotation. There we go. The scale doesn't matter, so you don't need to worry about that. The light needs to be movable, and it is, right? And you need the intensity as well as, well, actually, let me show you a trick. You can go in here to this gear icon right here, click on it, and show only modified properties. So once you do that, let me move myself. Once you do that, you can you only see the properties that are what's the word? That I have messed with, right? So it's the light intensity, that needs to be 1. It's the indirect light intensity, that needs to be 3. And it's the volumetric scattering intensity, that needs to be 0.25. Spawn, ignore collisions. I think this one is already doing that. Let's just see, we can search. Spawn wait, actor spawn collision handling method. Okay, we don't care. Sorry, we don't care about this one. Ignore it. I guess I'm getting tired. Anyway, so now we have our sunlight rotated, new sunlight rotated, as well as it has the correct strengths and so on. Let's compile it. Let's save it. And for now, let's close it. We will open it up shortly, actually. Now, what I'm going to do is, actually, let's go for lit version. I'm going to delete my directional light. Straight up, just delete it, right? And instead, I'm going to take my sun blueprint and add it in. Easy as that. That's it. That's it. Now you have successfully replaced your sunlight with, or directional light with a blueprint that contains a directional light. What kind of functionality does it give you? Well, glad you asked. If you open it up and you go to, let's make this smaller, and this also smaller, and you go to the event graph tab right here, then you will see that you can add events that happen. Right? You can control it, you can rotate it, and so on. And rotating is the key thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, when we begin play, so event begin play, when we begin play, we want to get So we want to take this directional light, just drag it over, take it and drag it over here. We want to take this directional light and get actor, get rotation, get world rotation, get world rotation, right? So we want to ask, okay, what kind of angle are we? 1 second. What kind of angle are we dealing with at the start of the game, right? And that's going to be the angle at which the current sunlight is. So it's going to give us a rotator. And then I'm going to just simply create a new variable here, click on the little plus sign, and type in, let's go for start rotation. Start rotation. And the type of our variable is going to be a rotator. And it's going to be not public. So it can only be accessed through within this blueprint. Okay, we drag it in and we choose to set start rotator or set start rotation. We don't get it, we set it, right? So we fill this blueprint with basically these 3 numbers right here. Okay, so the way you do it is event begin play, you connect it to set, and the value you connect it to start rotation. And that's that. Now, once you press the play button, this will be registered or will be filled with the rotation value of the current light angle, right? That we have in the scene. Okay, we compile it. Then what we want to do is every tick of the game, so begin overlap, we don't care about that, we can delete it, but with the tick, at every tick, we need to check if we have messed with the sliders. We haven't created the sliders yet, don't you worry, we will, but we need to check if we have messed with the sliders, and if we have, then we need to set a new rotation for the directional light. So let's do that. I believe it's going to be just set world rotation, right? Set world rotation for directional light. We choose that. Auto saving, 1 second. And then the new rotation, we will most likely be breaking it. So I'm going to say make rotator. Make rotator is very nice because it gives you X, Y, and Z. Like rotation along X, along Y, and along Z axis. Well, actually X is the roll axis. So for us, the roll will never change because when you imagine shining light through a flashlight and you just roll the flashlight, right? You just rotate it along the angle at which the light is shining. That does not change anything, right? So the roll we don't mess with. How do we do this? So we have the rotation already, right? The existing rotation. So I'm going to just take it, start rotation, and get it. So you just drag and drop it in from here, from the left-hand side. Drag, drop, get, start rotation. And what we will do is we will break rotation or break rotator. Then we will say that, yeah, we never change X, right? You never change X, but you sometimes change Y. And the way you change Y is you take the existing rotation and you will add some value to it, right? So if you keep adding a value, it's going to keep rotating, but in our case, it's going to be a single kind of a application of a value. So you change the slider, it rotates. You change the value again to, let's say, a negative zone, it rotates back. So for Y pitch, we will be adding, so plus sign, we will be adding some value to it, like that. And for z yaw, we will also be adding some value. So let's just copy paste it, drag it over here, connect it like so. Okay, these two values. I don't remember which one is which. I believe I need to remember. 1 second. I have my notes here. The y should be, y is vertical. Okay, y is vertical, z is horizontal rotation. Well, okay. So what we want is we want two values, one for horizontal and one for vertical, right? So I'm going to be creating two variables, v vertical value, v value, and h value, like that. And both of them are not rotators, they're going to be just float numbers. Float is digits or numbers that have numbers after a comma. Integer is full numbers, floats are numbers that have precision that goes on after the comma. So like 5.321, right? Is a float. Okay, so v value goes in here, get v value like that. And h value is going to be here, get h value like that. Okay, a little bit dirty, but should work just fine. All right, so now how do we write these values, right? Because we can't just create a script here. We need the values to be read from the freaking 1 second, I'll get to it. From the menu. So what we do is we compile, we save, and we need to access that menu that I showed you at the start of this chapter, right? So to access that menu, we will go to VR template, we'll go to blueprints, and here we'll see the widget menu. So that's the one that we want. Double click it, and basically here you see reset orientation, restart real live. And we will mess with those, with the design of it in a little bit, but for now we just want to add more, right? We want to add two more sliders, one horizontal, one vertical. To do so, let's minimize those and simply start rearranging the menu items that we currently have. So first things first, the vertical box needs to go. Because we will want one horizontal slider here, one vertical slider here, meaning they are stacked horizontally rather than vertically, right? So right after the border, this one needs to be a horizontal box. So what we do is we right click on it and we choose to replace with horizontal box, like that. Or we can also wrap with a horizontal box if you prefer so. But I just like replacing things. So let's do it that way. Replace with horizontal box. Now you can see that under our horizontal box, all three buttons here are just kind of stacked horizontally. That's fine, that's okay. Because the next thing that we're going to be doing is actually taking a vertical box and reapplying it on top of the, or inside of the horizontal box. So all of these elements will be stacked again vertically, right? So this might seem a little bit weird, but trust me, it's going to start making sense really soon. So let's just search in the palette for vertical box and just drag it onto our horizontal box like that. So that's going to be one of our elements, basically the element that holds our horizontal slider as well as the three buttons. The next element is going to be size box, but maybe do we do it now? Yeah, we can do it now. So size box, Size box is very useful when you want to control the size of things that are inside of the box, right? So I'm going to take that and drag it onto the horizontal box as well. So now we have vertical box here, size box here. Okay. For the vertical box, we want to create, we want to add these three, these three buttons here into the vertical box. So the way you do it is you just take these three buttons and just drag and drop them into the vertical box. Bam. It seems like we haven't changed anything, right? But actually we have, because now we have a horizontal box. So things are stacking in horizontally, in which we have a vertical box and a size box, meaning that now anything that goes into here can be placed to the right of our menu. For instance, the height slider of our sun. And that's actually what we're going to be doing right now. Let's just do it. Slider, bam, take the slider, drag and drop it into the size box, bam. And you do need to make sure that it is vertical. I don't remember where. Oh, there it is. So you select the slider and you change its orientation from horizontal to vertical. And you can name it as well. So I'm going to name it V slider. There we go. So now you can see we have our little slider doodad right here. Of course, we will be changing a bunch of things about it, but for now, yay, this works. We're happy. Okay, then let's just minimize the size box. We have it going. That's good. And now let's focus a little bit on the left-hand side, right? So reset orientation, restart button, as well as relive buttons. All of these have too many words in them and the buttons are too big. So what I want to do is I want to change the spelling. So all you need to do is just expand the buttons on the left hand side, select the text, and here under content text you just, let's say reset orientation will be O for orientation, restart button will be R for restart, and real life will be Q to quit. ORQ. There we go. More compact. Well, not for long. Not for long. Okay, how do we actually let me just introduce a slider into our vertical box here so that we can then talk about how the hell do we arrange these things on the left hand side. So if I just grab the slider and drag it onto the vertical box here, you can see that it's neatly placed here, but it's so small, it's such a mess. We want it to be really big so that we can control the position, you know, in a much more granular way. So to do so, our slider, which we will rename F2, by the way, to rename things, we will change this to horizontal slider, H slider. There we go. And we will add, we'll right click on it, and we will wrap it with a size box. Size box. There we go. Bam. And now with the size box, and this is going to be the first time that we actually use the size box, right? We will choose, select the size box, by the way, and then choose width override and height override. And for width override, I will choose 700. Enter. Bam, you can see how big of a slider we've got. Yeah. And then for height override, let's choose like 40 so that there is an offset from the buttons. Speaking of the buttons, those are a little bit, yikes, a little bit weird. They look quite weird. So let's make them better or worse. It depends on how you look at it. Let's create another horizontal box like that. Drag it into our vertical box component like that. So it lives here now. And grab these three buttons with the shift and drag them into the horizontal box. Perhaps we don't want it to be underneath the slider, so I'm just going to, oops, messed that one up. Let's try again. There we go. So we just changed the position, right? The horizontal box goes above the size box. Okay, now on to the alignment inside of the horizontal box, or rather maybe we should probably work on the right hand side slider a little bit to increase its size, because that's the height of the sun, right? So we want to increase that size as well. Or rather it's gonna be like, let's go for time of day, I guess. That's a bit better. So in terms of that, for vertical, for the size box of the vertical slider, I can just choose width and height overrides again, and here I'll just say 40 for width, and let's go for 300 for height. Perfect, something like that. Okay, so now things are pretty damn ugly, but everything is where it should be, or rather, at least on the left-hand side is where I want them to be. Now it's all about alignment, right? So let's take a look. A horizontal box is aligned in the border and fills the whole border. The horizontal alignment is to fill, set to fill, and vertical alignment is set to fill. That's fine. Then we have this vertical box that also tries to fill the border. I'm not sure if it should. Perhaps we could do centered and centered like so. I think that might look a little bit better, right? Then we have a horizontal box right here that definitely, all of the buttons should be centered, and vertically they can be filled. That's fine. And is that? Yeah, that's it. That's it, right? Something like this should be good enough. Then just working on the sliders. While our horizontal slider, we can indeed have it like that, or we can also say that our minimum value is -1 and our maximum value is 1, thus having the slider right in the middle. And for the vertical slider, same thing, minimum value -1, maximum value 1. It's a little bit offset, that's fine. And yeah, that's that. Then we have our sliders that are working. Last thing, I promise last thing about the graphics of this. If I were to just select, let's see, the horizontal slider, and I were to, is it under style? Yes, it's under style, normal thumb image and hovered thumb image. If I change these images to some other image that I have, for instance, do we have the paw? Oh, we have the paw, but the paw is black. Okay, 1 second. Just going to check. If we go to our materials, is it? Yeah, cat paw, but that's the material. Where's our textures? Apologies for this. Just give me a second. Just a moment. Okay, show me where the paw is. Oh, it's under widgets. Okay. So we have this paw texture, right? That was done in Photoshop, and what we can do with it is we can invert it to be white, right? So that in the menu it pops a little bit better. To do so, all you need to do is just open it up in Unreal Engine, or actually let's make a copy of it first. So let's go in here, and for the texture, let's just Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V, copy paste, F2, and call it paw white. Paw white, open it up. And for the brightness curve of this image, we just do -1, and now it's white. Inverted. Many ways to do it, by the way. That's just one of them. Okay, so with that done, we can go back in here, and for the slider, instead of paw, we can use paw white. You can see that the what's the name? The aspect ratio of it is complete garbage. So what we will do is we will say that it should be the size of it should be a square, right? Because our image is square. And I believe, if I remember correctly, it was 40, right? Like the size of it was 40. So let's go for 30 for the normal thumb image. Something like that. That's good. And then for the actual once you hover your controller over it, it should increase in size. So the hovered thumb image, we choose paw again, paw white, and here for the size we do, let's go for 50. Let it climb. Okay, so once we hover it, it's going to increase in size. Same thing here. I'm just going to be fast and not repeat myself too much. Paw white. Can I just drag it? No. No, we can't. Paw white. There we go. Image size 30 by 30. Image size 50 by 50. Okay, that's it. That's our menu. I think it's time to actually test it out, you know, to see if it works or not. If I press play, compile and save, don't forget that. Oh, my quest link disconnected while I was recording. So let's escape out of there. Is this alive? That's alive. That's good. And let's press play. Okay. We're good? We're good. Now if I look at the menu, bam, that's very nice. And if I can control the mouse, you can see as I'm hovering my my controller over the paw, it becomes bigger. And here as well. Okay, that whole thing works perfectly. So now we need to connect. We need to connect our controller, or sorry, our menu slider value to our sun blueprint values, right? So the way we do it is in our widget menu, we need to actually access the graph, right? And the way you do it is top right corner, graph, bam. And here you already have a few functions. On clicked, once the reset orientation button is clicked, then it should reset the camera and so on. So open level, so when you restart, the level restarts, and when you quit, right? So now for us to actually start using this, the first thing that I want to do is I want to set the values of the sliders, right? Or sorry, I want to get the values of the sliders. So to do so, all we need to do is, for instance, select the H slider, the horizontal slider, right? Like so. And here in the horizontal slider, once you have it selected under variables, you will have different events that you can call for. And the event that we want to focus on is on value changed, right? So when you change the value of a slider, it should trigger. So we click on that, on value changed, H slider. I will do the same thing for V slider right now. So if you missed it, don't worry. V slider, on value changed, click the plus sign, bam. So what happens when we change the sliders? We need to transfer that information, right? I will call for get all actors of class, and here I will choose sun BP, our sun blueprint, bam. So this will fish out every single sun blueprint that we have in the scene. In our case, it's just one, but we still stop that. In our case, it's just one, but we still need to specify that, you know, we're extracting only one. So it gives us an array of actors. Instead, from this array, we will get a copy, get one, right? Get a copy, like that. So this output right here is our sun blueprint. Then for the sun blueprint, what we will do is we will set, wait, let's think. Yeah, we will set v value. Remember those variables, v value and h value that we have set up in our sun blueprint? So I'm now filling them in right here. Set v value, and our v value will be the value that we get from the slider right here. Bam, connected like that. And of course, don't forget to call the trigger like so. And that's it. That's all you need to do. So if you missed it, let me repeat it much faster. Get all actors of class, sunBP, right here. Get a copy, right here. And in this case, oh, sorry, that was the H slider. I'm stupid. That was the H slider. So we're not setting the V value. We were setting set H value. Like that. And here we set V value. Trigger, and don't forget to actually connect the slider value into V value. Okay, so that works. That works great. And what we want to do now is to say, okay, let's say we take this and we change the value to, the values are between -1 and 1, right? So we changed it to 1, right? And we close the menu. Once we start the menu again, our value is going to be reset back to 0. So we don't want that. We want to somehow save the values, or for it to check which values we were at before we closed the menu, right? So we need to do one more step. This is almost there, but the last step is for event construct, which we have here in the top. Event construct, for that, we still need to, and actually let me just drag it over here at the bottom. It's gonna be easier for you to follow along. There we go, and I can, for instance, stay here. Event construct, we still get all actors of class. It's just the fastest way for me to call for sun blueprint. sunBP. You can also copy and paste if you want to. Get a copy, like that. And then from here, I will set value. Sorry, let's think. Give me a second. I get it, and then I extract v value, get v value, and get h value. And then with these values, because these are writing into those, right? So we check what kind of values do you have, and the values that you have, every time we construct a menu, it's going to take those and we'll put the sliders onto those values. So our H slider, get H slider, like that. Set value, like that. And H value goes in here, right? So we start the game, we mess up the menu, right? So we change the sliders up, the values in the sun blueprint change, and then we close the menu, we open it again, and what it does, it reads the value and sets the sliders to be at that value, right? So the sliders don't reset every time we restart the game. Hope that makes sense. Then let's find the V slider, drag it in here, get V slider, set value, like that, bam, bam, and that's it. That's it. This should be enough for it to work, at least on the technical side. One last thing to actually fix is the blueprint, like the, what was the word, the math, I guess, within the blueprint. So within the Sun blueprint, we need to change a few things, right? Because here it's going, the numbers that are going to arrive are going to be between -1 and 1, and we don't want that. We want those to be in degrees. So horizontal value is actually pretty damn easy. All you need to do is just take the value that you have, you multiply by 180, and you're good to go, right? -1 becomes -180, +1 becomes +180, meaning you have full 360-degree coverage. For the vertical value, it's a little bit more yucky, I guess, or it can be pretty simple. But I would suggest mapping it, right? So what we can do is map range clamped, like that, connecting it like so. So map range, and as long as we anticipate that the value, the range is going to come in between -1 and 1, we can say that it needs to be remapped to, let's say, -15 and 15. So -1 becomes 15 degrees down for the Sun, and 1 becomes 15 degrees up for the Sun. Should be good to go. By the way, let's just check. Okay, it's at -20. Well, we'll see. We'll see. Should be good enough. We can compile this, we can save this, and I think we're ready to test it out. So let's do so. Let's do so. So it seems like everything is kind of working. It's a little bit laggy, but that's fine. And we have our menu. And if I were to change the horizontal rotation of the Sun, let's look at something nicer. Wait, close that. Can I please? Yeah, there we go. Turn. Turn. Oh, there we go. That's nice. And again, the menu. If I just change. The rotation works. And what about? Yeah. The verticality also works. And let's mess it up. So this one goes all the way up, meaning that it's a sunset, and then we have it somewhere there. We close the menu, we open up the menu again, and they're where they need to be, right? Yeah, perfect. Okay, that's what I want to see. So that works great. I'm happy. We're done with our sunlight, dynamic sunlight. Of course, you can make it nicer, you can make it more profound, and there can be more bells and whistles to it, but the baseline is there, and you can build up from here. Okay, so now with this, we can move on to the last step, which is going to be our last instance of this course, which is going to be switching up the objects to other kinds of objects. Chapter 3, I guess. I'll see you there. All right, so the third chapter of our course and the last chapter of this particular course is making an object that you can trigger a change in, right, in terms of geometry. So we can switch or shuffle through multiple different objects. And the way it's going to work is going to be very similar to what we've done with material, only with a few additional things. And also we want to be able to grab the object and so on. We will introduce that functionality as well as a small little bonus for you for those of you who've stayed for so long. Right, so the first step to do, as we always do, is to create a blueprint. I'm going to just right click here in my blueprints folder and choose blueprint class, like that, actor, blueprint. Bam. I'll call it interact object. You can call it any way you want. I prefer to just say interact object or interact object on table, whatever. Probably we're going to be placing it on the table. Then you double click it, and here you will want to create a static object. Sorry, not object, static mesh. So under components, we add static mesh. Not instanced, just a static mesh. Like that. And this static mesh that we will have, this one right here, is going to be a container which will hold all different states of the meshes, right? So this can be a book, this can be a giraffe, this can be whatever, a banana, right? We will be able to shuffle through the different states of the static mesh within our event graph, right? So for now, this can be even empty if you want it to. With that being said, I don't really want it to be empty, so I'm going to go in here for the static mesh, and I'm just going to choose one of the static meshes that I already have. You might not have it, so probably it would be a good idea for me to show you where I get my different assets or small objects from, and that is from Quixel Bridge. So if you go to Window, wait, apologies, it's not Window, it's here. Adding the little add button right here, Quixel Bridge. If you open that one up, you will get this tab right here, which is basically Quixel Megascans library inside of Unreal Engine, from which you can download anything you want. And then under 3D assets here, you can download, for instance, props, books. You can just download some books, right, to shuffle through. I have already downloaded a few things I can show you. If I just go to my Megascans, 3D assets, right here, I have banana, I have blue and red book, I have blue book, curly bun, and a toy giraffe, right? So these are the objects that I have downloaded from Quixel Megascans. Okay, with that done, we can go back in here, interact object, right? And for the static mesh, select it on the right hand side, then you will be able to choose the mesh that you want. So in this case, I will go for a giraffe. Why not? As toy giraffe. There we go. Something like that. Then what you want to also do with the giraffe is you want to simulate the physics for it, right? So or not the giraffe. This is just a, this particular geometry, but for the static mesh, right? You want to simulate the physics for it. So you tick mark that. You want to specify what's the mass of it. So let's go for 0.1 kilograms. You can go a little bit more. Let's say say it's heavy, 0.5, half a kilo. And then you want to make sure that gravity is indeed enabled. I believe that is going to be that. We won't need to do anything more with this. Okay, so once this is done, you will notice that now if you were to compile, save, place the object and press the simulate or the play button, you wouldn't be able to see the giraffe, and that's because it would just fall away just through the freaking floor. So we need to fix it. And the way you fix it is I will show you with this curly bun right here. So any object that you want to be able to grab and that you want to simulate the physics for needs to have its collisions built. And the way you do it is you open up, let's say, our curly bun. We double click on it. We open it up, right, in our static mesh editor. we go to collision right here. This is an important step, by the way, so make sure that you're following along. Collision. And for this bun, we could just add a sphere simplified collision, but I will just auto convex. I'll just use auto convex collision. I'll click on that. Now, if I were to move myself away, 1 second. There we go. On the right-hand side, you can see convex decomposition. Yeah, convex decomposition. We need to hit apply. There are sliders to choose from, but this is a relatively simple mesh. So we just hit apply and it should be doing just fine. Let's try this again. Auto convex collision, apply. Yeah, seems like it's gonna be working. You can always check with player collision enabled. You know what kind of a shape it's using, or visibility collision, like that. Okay, back in here, let's hit save. The bun is done. Let's just go through the toy giraffe. I already did it for the toy giraffe, so if I were to check, you can see it already asks me would I like to remove the collision, so it already has it enabled, right? So that's good. I also did it for the banana, and let's just do it for the books real quick. So collision, auto, apply, close that. Probably had to save it. That's fine though. Blue book, collision, auto. You can see that apply. Now collision is there. It's shown in green. Perfect. Save that. Close it. Okay. So with this done, let's check if it's actually going to simulate properly. Let me compile. Let me save. Let me just place the actor or the blueprint in the scene. So of course on the table, right? Where's our interact object? You can see that I've already tested this out as well. A little bit higher up, just slightly, something like that. And put on the headset, of course. Okay, let's check this out. So now if I look at our little, how do I call you? If I giraffe toy, if I look at it, it's right on the table, meaning that during the simulation it just fell down and collided with the table. That's great. Oh. And just like my controller fell down and collided with the floor. I think it's gonna be fine. Okay, so now with the giraffe kinda at least being simulated properly with the physics, let's actually test it out once more. This time I'm going to have it like rotated so that it falls down awkwardly. Okay, oh, there it is. Okay, straight on the table. Yeah. So that means our physics works, right? Let's reset that. And now let's introduce the functionality of being able to, first of all, grab the giraffe, and second of all, change the giraffe into a banana. So to do so, let me just, for the inside of the blueprint, for the static mesh, I want to create a component that's called grab. Add grab component, like that, and just drag it onto the static mesh, right? So that it's a part of the static mesh. Compile, save, play. Wrong arm. Yeah. Go in here. And if I were to just, whoop, there we go. Okay, there's my little giraffe, and I can have it here. I can, whoop, throw it, It works. It's a little bit laggy though. That's fine. That's fine. Okay, so with this collision working, and we can make it a little bit more, a little bit faster if we were to simplify the meshes for the floor collision, but that's fine. With this collision working now, and us being able to grab the giraffe, let's do the switcheroo, the mesh switcheroo. So how do we do this? Well, in the event graph, the first thing that we do during event begin play is we specify. Actually, do we need to do anything for at the start of the begin play? Maybe not. Maybe not, because all of it is already working. So actually, what we need to call for is the interact event, right? And the interact blueprint event, right? Remember, we always use that interact interface to be able to shoot at the object to change its state. So to do so, we go to class settings, or sorry, class defaults. No, it was under class settings. Yes, implemented interfaces, there we go. Add interact BP. That's the blueprint that we are using for this. Interact BP, now we have this interface here. We do need to compile it, and then we just simply right click and type in interact, add event, event interact. So once we shoot at the giraffe, it should change into a banana, right? So once this is done, and also it should not just change into banana. Well, for now, let's change it, and then we will add more functionality. So we can just simply do set static mesh. Bam. Already has the static mesh anchored in, right? Because that's the only static mesh that we have. And the new mesh should be a banana. Bam. Banana. Compile, save. Let's try this out. And we just move next to this. Grab it. Yeah, that works. Put it back. Shoot at it. Oh. And there goes the banana. Okay. So I think I forgot to add collision for the banana. Let's see. Let's just quickly see. Megascans, 3D assets, banana, open that one up, collision. Oh, there is. So banana does have a collision. So it might be because once the banana is spawned, it spawns inside of the table. So the collision just messes up. So what we want to do is before we set a new static mesh, we want to move locally. So local offset, add local offset to the static mesh, right? Add local offset, static mesh, like that. So that needs to happen before we change it into a banana. And delta location, let's just go for something like 10 centimeters in the Z axis. And also, don't forget to tick mark this teleport option, or else it's going to just shoot up and the physics will calculate. So it's going to have inertia and it's just going to keep on shooting up, right? So teleport enabled. This should do the trick. Let's try. Okay. Yeah. There we go. Yeah. And every time now I shoot at the banana, you can see that it... Okay. You can see that it lifts up by 10 centimeters, right? And it seems like maybe the damping is a little bit too much. So let's go into our interact object, select the static mesh, and here for linear damping, drag force added to reduce linear movement. I would say maybe we can do like 3 times more, so 0.03, right? This will just make sure that when we shoot it, the collisions are well, it slows down a little bit faster, right? 0.03. Okay, now one more thing is if we add an offset upwards, we also want to reset its rotation, right? So it might be weirdly rotated. We want to reset it. So I'm going to say set world rotation for the static mesh, like that. And it should be 0, 0, 0. Make sure that you make it larger, like that, and choose teleport, like tickmark teleport option as well. Okay, so that's done, and I believe all we need to do now to be able to shuffle through, oh my god, come on. To be able to shuffle through these components is to, one second, to set static object. So only here, so we will always be resetting the rotation. We will always be adding a local offset upwards. And then every time we shoot, it changes to a different mesh. So here we create the multi-gate, like that. Perfect. Come on, give me that. Go in here. It should be looped, yes. And output 0 is our banana. Output 2, or output 1, sorry, is our, how was that? Bun? Bun, I believe. Yes, curly bun. There we go. Add pin. Output 3 is going to be our book. Something like that. Okay, compile, save. Let's investigate. Press play. Now, let's do it this way. Where's the camera? There we go. Banana. We grab the banana. We look at the banana. Come on. Oh. Nom nom nom. Okay, we put back the banana. We hit it again, and now it's a bun. Throw the bun down. Now it's gonna be a book that fell through. Okay. So in terms of collision, you can see that we probably need to fix the interaction, like the precision of the collision, and I'll show you how to do that in just a second. But the functionality is there, and we are going to be able to just populate the scene with a bunch of objects that can be, like the form of them can be changed by the user by just simply shooting at them. Okay, so the last thing to do for us to make the collisions work is having more precision. And in terms of virtual reality, I wouldn't suggest amping up the resolution, because that seagulls, because that might not be very healthy for the performance, but instead actually simplifying the collisions. So in this case, for example, I have went on, selected my tabletop here, pressed the browse to button, opened up the tabletop in here, and I just created a box collision for the tabletop, because I mean, it's a box, right? So we don't need it to be precise. And now if I were to press play, kind of try to show you it. If I were to, come on, oops, let me change the color. Wait, Yeah, gray. That's fine. Okay. If I were to boom, door close, change the color. Now we can see that the book is still kinda vibrating, but even if I put it, oops, that's a freaking come on. Even if I put it like on the edge of the table, that's fine. If I force it into the table, it's going to be spit out. So now the collision plays much better, right? Well, maybe not that well, but you get what I mean, right? But the problem is still, for instance, with the floor. See? I mean, it kind of works, but oops, come on. But not really. Come on, just if I were to drop it. Of course, when I try to show it to you. Oh, there we go. Okay, so it sometimes goes through the floor. So I'm going to show you on the floor what I would change and how I would change it. We simply select the floor. We go to Edit Blueprint Floor, like that. And oh, sorry, not Edit Blueprint Floor, but we actually need to just simply find that the floor mesh, right? So here, once we select our floor blueprint, we can go to brep 513 because that's the geometry that is used for the floor, right? And then we can browse to the asset, right? So that's our static mesh that is being used. So while the issue with the tabletop was just fixed by using a box collision rather than, or concave collision rather than a complex collision, in this case, it's going to be a little bit trickier because the underlying reason of why the collision here doesn't work is because the floor slab, the floor top, is actually a thin piece of mesh, right? So the geometry of it is bad, it's wrong. So the way we can fix it is, well, there are two ways. One way is just simply using a box simplified collision and saying that you can see that now this box collision is applied here, and just stating that the extent for Z is slightly larger. So let's say 1 centimeter or something like that, and then calling it a day. Or let's remove the collision, and instead we can go into our settings, plugins, mesh, edit. Wait, yeah. So you could go into modeling tools, I believe. Modeling tools mode include a suite of interactive tools for yes. So we could use the modeling tools to thicken the actual geometry of our mesh right here, right? In our case, we will be simplistic and we will not use the 3D modeling tools in Unreal Engine. Instead, we will just simply create that box simplified collision, add the Z extent of, I'll go for like 2 centimeters. Because if you do like, let's say 100 centimeters, you can see that box, the collision box appearing, which is way too big. So we can do like, well, actually you can do like 10 centimeters and then an offset of it in Z by -10. And now it should be, or sorry, -5 because it's centered, -5. There we go. And now it should be all good to go. We just hit save, close that, press play here. Yeah, and if I were to really, let's go for something like this and a book. If I were to really kind of force an intersection with the floor, you can see that it still works, right? So it's all about the geometry, you're having clean geometry, having clean collision geometry, and all of that. If you have a clean 3D model, you will not need to, amp up the resolution, thus costing you a lot of performance that you could otherwise spend on nice light and materials. So that's the idea, and that's the principle, and that's how you work with these kind of things, right? Hope that this was informative. The rule or the name of the game is, if you want the collisions to work properly, all of your geometries need to have thickness, right? Okay, with this done, I think we can call it a day. We have ourselves a scene that is, in my opinion, ready to, it's fully interactive, and now the only question is of scale, of how many objects are replaced with these actors that can change material, that can change their shape, that can change their transformation, or meaning opening and closing, and also the light. Fully interactive scene. Once you're done with it, to package it, you just go to platforms, choose Windows, and just simply click on package project, right? It's going to ask you where do you want to save it. You just save it, and then you're good to go. Then you're done, right? Okay. I hope you enjoyed this one, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.